What is your Tinder horror story? Not me, but I worked as a bartender for a while and heard a lot of horror stories secondhand. This one girl, who was a regular, came in and told me about an awful Tinder date she had. Not sure of the specifics, but it wasn't bad enough for her to not bring him home afterward. He leaves the next morning, she brushes it off as a one-night stand, and a few days later, her debit card gets declined. Odd, since she is a bartender herself at a fairly busy place in our city and is good about saving and usually flush with cash. She goes to check her debit card, turns out there were a bunch of charges at Best Buy, Grubhub, a bunch of other stuff. Curious, she checks her credit card too. There she found a bunch of charges for streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Sling, everything. She goes to confront the guy and finds out he deleted his profile. But she remembers a friend they had in common on Facebook. She reaches out to the mutual friend to try and track him down, and it turns out he did the exact same thing to that mutual friend. Not sure if what the outcome was, but she was out for blood after a mediocre hookup turned into a serious case of identity theft. I went on a date with this guy who I didn't really have anything in common with, but thought I'd give him a shot anyways. We met up at a bar and he had already pounded 2 pitchers of beer, but was completely sober, at least from what I could tell. We hung out, talked, and although he seemed nice enough, I wasn't quite feeling it. I wanted to leave, but he convinced me to go to another bar to get one last drink. Seeing as it was only about 8 p.m, I agreed to one more drink. We were sitting at the bar and a couple was making out next to us. He looked at me and asked what I thought people in the bar would do if he and one started making out. I knew where this was going. I tried to laugh and make some joke about no one paying attention. He then insisted that we should make out. I nervously laughed and told him that wasn't a very good idea, and excused myself to the restroom. I came back to the seat, and he had a shot waiting for me and insisted I drink it. No shot for him, just me. I declined and he got really upset, and said he was ready to go. At that point in the evening he had consumed 2 pitchers of beer, 4 margaritas, and 2 more pints, yet displayed no sign of being intoxicated. Nonetheless, I knew there was a lot of alcohol in his system and asked if he thought it was a good idea for him to drive. He got extremely defensive and said he was fine. We exited the bar and he took off in the opposite direction. When I got home I texted him just to make sure he was okay because had so much to drink. His response: I only date girls I fuck on the first date. Dodged a bullet with that one. I went on a Tinder date a couple months ago on a Sunday afternoon. Met up with the guy around 3. He had a really good energy and was funny and complimentary. The place we wanted to go had a long line, so we went to another restaurant on the water for a drink and appetizers. He started slamming down my ties. I had 1, he had 3. They were strong. I was tipsy, borderline drunk off of 1. The bar had a 2 Mai Tai per person limit, but he found another bartender to get his 3rd. He got drunker and started telling me he loved me, joking at first but getting increasingly serious. As we left he asked me to marry him. I kind of laughed it off, and was like, maybe we take it slow, we just met each other. He got so mad he stormed off and left me on a street corner. Then as soon as he got home, it was 5 p.m, he started texting me, come over. And I miss you. He was 43. WTF. Not me, my dad. Not Tinder either, it was Match.com. My dad had been on Match for about 3 months, with some success. He's a tall Australian man who's decent looking, so he had some interest. One weekend he got sent his first nude, which he thought had strange, but brushed it off. Later that week he got 6 more nudes from the same woman. Before he blocked her, he decided that he would open them just for kicks. 5 of the pictures are just straight up vague shots, which he said were incredibly unappealing and had terrible lighting. The 6th picture, however, was something different. The woman was standing in her bra in front of a mirror, puss out, winking, with a bunch of herbs shoved in her bra. Basil, parsley, thyme, all that good stuff. The caption on the picture was Spice Rack. She was swiftly blocked after my dad stopped laughing long enough to find the block button. Talked to him for 2 weeks before we went out, and no red flags, so we ended up going out to dinner. I said I hadn't been out in a while because I was trying to save money for a washer and dryer. He told me instead of saving for that I should save for a boob job. I didn't even know how to reply, so he followed up with, "No, it's not a bad thing. My sister and mom both had small tits and got boob jobs and they look amazing." This is all before the waitress even brought our drinks. I just got up and left. Chatted with this girl for about 2 weeks. Every conversation went well, and eventually I got her number, and she started sharing nudes and speaking dirty. Late on evening after a stressful work day, she talks me into driving an hour to come get coffee with her. She spends the next hour and a half non-stop talking about her ex, and how she has to see him at the bank and all this personal upset ex-girlfriend stuff. She cuts me off anytime I try to speak or change the subject right back to him. A day later I get a text about how I didn't do any talking, and I was too boring to be anything more than just friends with. She got irate when I pointed out she would not allow me to speak, and only wanted to talk about her ex-boyfriend, when we have never once had a slow or boring conversation before meeting up. Matched with this cute girl a few years back. Went out for drinks. It was going well, decided to head out to the beach with a six-pack to stargaze and make out. Somehow we ended up on a stolen sailboat at 2 a.m. with her ex, an old drunken boat repairman who made copies of the keys to steal the boat, and her dog. After arguing with her ex for 30 minutes, she blacks out and falls asleep. Her dog is scared out of its mind and is shitting everywhere. Her ex starts tripping on acid and yells at me that I have to take care of her and never hurt her. Then runs to the bow of the boat to finish his trip. The old drunken boat thief is just chilling and chugging vodka like it was water. I said fuck it, cleaned up after the dog and brought the poor pup inside the cabin with me, then passed out. Next morning I woke up to the girl and her ex screaming at each other about some car crash and whose fault it was. The old boat thief was gone and I had no clue where I parked. I left without them noticing, got some coffee and breakfast, and wandered around the harbor until I found my car. Never talked with her again, but I didn't delete Tinder. Edit: the ex and old drunk boat thief are two different people. Also how we ended up on the boat. She got a call from her ex. I didn't find out he was her ex until we were already out of the harbor, and she asked me if I wanted to go sailing with some friends. I'm drunk and I love sailing. So I said hell yeah. Not my story, but I knew a guy who had a Freudian slip, more dark side Kermit, bad enough that it ruined everything. I was told this by him after he got home, and suffice to say he was like, why the fuck did I say that? Date had been going well, and they were walking back to a bus station. They passed a creepy alley, and she said something to the effect of, "Wow, I would not like to go down that alley," to which he responded, "Imagine you are very rapeable." Suffice to say, she ran for the hills and he was mortified. He very much was not a creepy person and had no clue why the hell he said that, nor has he, to the extent of my knowledge, raped anyone. But Christ almighty, do I agree with the girl's decision to run. Fresh off a breakup on campus, match with this really good-looking girl who is talking pure filth. Obviously I'm just an idiot with a hurt heart, so I don't question much. Head over to her place a few days later. She insisted I come over on a certain day at XXX o'clock. Usually I would have been sketched out, but it was the middle of the day on AB1G10 campus. What exactly could go that south? Half hour in her husband came home. I was being used in revenge plot. No more Tinder. Edit: dang, did not expect this much interest. Apologies for not checking back, haha. Anyway, I pretty much just froze and he started screaming at her in a language I did not speak, and she got out of bed and did the same. It was at an apartment slightly off campus, where a lot students lived, so I guess I just assumed she had a roommate that wasn't home. Never assume. One just basically embraced the chaos, grabbed my shit as fast as I could and hightailed it out of there. I can only assume it was intentional based on the specific meetup, but maybe it was poor luck. Either way, just talk to the cute girl at the coffee shop, it's much better than apps. Met a guy, decent conversation, smart, funny, mutual nerdy hobbies. We decide to meet up at the local gamer bar and play some games while having our first date. Get in, sit down, dude has no teeth. Says a hack dentist told him they all had to be removed, couldn't get dentures due to budget, needed to wait for bone shards go fall out of his gums, etc. Proceeded to spit all over our food while talking, which granted, I knew he couldn't help, but if he can hide something this big from someone, what else could he be hiding? Plus I couldn't stomach the thought of making out with someone with no teeth. Matched with my BFF's fiancé after the engagement party. Screenshots of everything and lost my BFF, because I don't play that. I was uninvited to the wedding. Marriage lasted 18 months. Edit, thank you for the gold award. Since so many have asked, I did not swipe right. I took a screenshot and asked my friend what she wanted me to do. She asked me to swipe right to see if he was active. I did and he messaged me asking to hook up. I told him off. He still wanted to hook up. I gave her all the screenshots. He uninvited me from the wedding because he was certain I would embarrass him. He was correct. I wouldn't sleep with my friend's fiancé, nor would I pretend that he wasn't a jerk. That's why the friendship ended. She was from a culture that required marriage before children. She was desperate for a baby and thought he was her last chance. He was running for a public office and wanted the smiling wife and cute baby. Yes. They both used each other. Edited to add, yes. They had a baby. Edited to add, no. He did not get elected. Not Tinder, but Match.com, and right in its infancy too long time ago, when it was just weirdos doing online dating. I matched and met up with a girl. She was way hotter than me, like crazy hot, way out of my league. The date was going super well, and we'd even made out a bit. Couldn't believe my luck. We decided that as it was going so well we'd keep it going and headed to a bar. We were getting cozy in a corner when a group of African lads came into the bar. I live in a very homogeneous white country to the point that would even be noteworthy, especially at that time. She got up off where we were sitting and began shouting abuse at the lads who came in, saying they didn't belong here, and dropping the N-word several times. I felt like that moment in a horror movie where the camera zooms in on your face and the background zooms out. I just got up and walked out. She tried to call me the next day to set up another date. I just ignored her. Clearly fucking nuts. Too good to be true in the truest sense. There's a few, but the first that comes to mind. Met this really cute girl on Tinder. She was really cool and we got along pretty well. I forget how our first date went, but after hanging out a few times I went over to her place and we hooked up. It was pretty great, except that I forgot in her bio that she was fluent in German. And so mid-coitus this very cute blonde is shouting in German, which, no offense to the Germans, isn't exactly the sexiest language in the book. It was so unexpected and I was terrified. Another time, we went to grab a drink at a bar, and she obviously knew the bartender, and we were all chatting it up. She was hanging on me, and we had some PDA going on. After the bartender left, I asked how she knew him, and she told me that he was her ex-husband. I was a bit shocked because we were all 20-somethings. When she went to the bathroom, he leaned over and asked me how I took to the German in bed, and I, still a bit shocked, said, "It's all right." He winked at me and she came back. Weird girl, nice guy, camped our drinks, and he still remembers me when I go in for a beer. So I matched with this super attractive, super tall dude. We meet up for drinks and he's charming. All around seems like I hit the jackpot. I'm starting to wonder why on earth is he interested in me. Fast forward to us being back at his place. We are making out, and before long, I'm taking off his pants, and with no notice from him, bam, micropenis. This little nub, maybe 2 inches long and about the size of my finger, is staring me in the face. Now, I don't judge and started playing with it, thinking to myself, how are we going to have sex? Maybe he's got pussy eating down to an art, and it's going to be a hot night. Well, nope, apparently he's not into that. He wants to skip oral, go straight to penetration. I'm on my stomach and he starts fucking me from behind. He starts to dirty talk, as well asking me how much I love his big dick, and how I like having my pussy destroyed. I'm trying as best I can not to laugh, and don't have the heart to tell him he's just fucking my thighs, not actually penetrating me. It doesn't take long until he comes, and I'm stuck wondering what the hell just happened to me. Not mine, but my friend's. He hooked up with this girl he'd been talking to for a while. They met early in the afternoon on a Sunday for a walk in the park. Sunny spring day, things are going well. He'd been out drinking the day before and his stomach starts acting up and he realizes he needs to fart. This one will not only smell, but will probably be loud as well. He spots a tin can a few yards down the pathway, and gets this brilliant idea that he's gonna kick it simultaneously with his fart, to cover up the sound. So he runs up to the can, to get a few yards between them, takes aim and kicks, and misses the can. The effort only increases the volume of the fart. On top of it all, he realized he probably shit his pants a little bit as well. Without hesitation, he just keeps on running and doesn't look back. So from her perspective, she's having a nice walk with this guy who suddenly starts running, kicks in the air, farts and keep running Forrest Gump style. And that's all she wrote. Not really Tinder, but another site long ago. Met this nice looking girl, she was really beautiful. Started talking and eventually got a time for a date. Waited for more than an hour until she finally showed up. She wasn't as good looking in real life. Like the pictures were clearly not hers. Even better, she had some friends with her. Eventually we end up with around 20 people, most of them wearing swastikas under their shirts and talking about how great Hitler was. Got kinda scared. Afterwards, a week or so, I got a message from another person on the same site asking me why I had dated his girlfriend. We became friends after I told him the story. Sorry for my English, also not sure if this is a real horror story, but it was for me. Edit. The dude I became friends with wasn't with the group and just heard from someone I went on a date with her. He wasn't a neo-Nazi. Far from it even. Edit 2. I do wanted to get out, but somehow didn't. Shy, dumb and afraid is my guess. But I was also much younger obviously. I guess they felt a bit like bullies if they makes any sense. Like if I ran off it would have had other consequences. And also, again my English isn't that great so I might just have not explained it properly. It wasn't a date, but we did meet on Tinder. Years ago met with a one-legged gay porn star from LA. He kept bumming cigarettes from people at the bar we were at until the bartender yelled at him to stop bothering her customers. I was embarrassed as I go to that bar a lot. He told me he had first-hand knowledge that Eminem and Charlie Sheen are gay. I thought it'd be fun to hang out with someone of his background. It was not. It just made me sad. I matched with this super cute girl on Tinder. We messaged back and forth for a few days. Didn't see any red flags, we just liked the same things, and seemed like we clicked very well so we decided to meet up at a restaurant for our first date. She told me to walk in and look for a woman in a red dress. To give you some context, I don't really do this very often so I was pretty nervous once I pulled up. I double-checked everything. Hair. Check. Breath. Check. Nothing in my teeth. Check. Condoms. Check. So I get down and walk into the restaurant, and I started looking for her. The hostess offered to seat me somewhere, but I declined and said with a smirk, my date is waiting for me, it's okay, so I continued and walked in looking for her. I couldn't seem to find her, but as soon as I turned a corner I saw a table full of my boys laughing their asses off and recording my reaction to the moment I realized I have been catfished and been flirting with the boys for the past week. I'm traumatized now. Edit. I appreciate the concern people, but LVE been friends with these guys for so long. They bought me a beer and we laughed about it. 2 years ago, my sophomore year of college, I matched with this cute outdoorsy guy that had a lot of the same interests as me. He insisted I go to his place, which should have been red flag number 1. Stupidly I go over there, to be greeted by a towering and unkempt guy in ratty pajama pants and a stained tank top. It was the same guy from the pictures, but the pictures were definitely from 5 to 10 years ago. His apartment was a sticky mess and reeked of BO. I sat on the far opposite side of the couch as him, texting my friends trying to figure out how to leave. He puts on some cold case documentary and is taking shot after shot of tequila, trying to get me to do the same. He edges closer and closer to me on the couch and eventually put his arm around me. Here's the kicker, the whole time on the couch, he was talking to me about Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. Non-stop. About what he would do in either side of that situation. Not the guy in the pictures, sketchy environment, murder documentary, Stockholm Syndrome. I stayed there no more than 15 minutes. He messaged me and apologized if he freaked me out, but I blocked him. Bad Vibe City. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.